Yo, it's Comic Head 84 coming at you with a contest entry video for my man, Nighttiger. He's got a new contest, just as cool as the last one, just as a big old box of 50 comics, just like the last one, fire stuff, of which I won. The last contest was really cool, very generous prize, and because of that, I wanted to, almost as a way of a thank you for that generous prize of the Boxo comics. I really wanted to really put some thought into and make a nice entry for this new contest that he has. It's a really cool premise too. I love these like creative contests. Nighttiger is good at those. Bear Island's recent Royal Guard contest was something like that too. I like these. You got to put some thought into it and be a little creative because it inspires a lot of cool videos from the community. So, the premise of this contest is he wants you to pick a Golden Age or Silver Age comic book hero that is no longer published, that has kind of gone by the wayside, and never got a real resolution on the character. And he wants us to tell the end of their story. What happened to them? How did it play out? What's the deal, right? So that's what I did. I got a nice little contest entry for you. I think if, in the off chance that I win this contest, he just puts them in a randomizer, so it's not like he picks a favorite, but if I happen to win the randomizer this time, I'm probably just going to A-OK that box to somebody in the community, because I don't want to be greedy, and there's no reason Nighttiger should send me 100 books. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and let's get on with my entry. So the Golden Age characters that I chose are Nightmare and Sleepy. Now, Nightmare and Sleepy were short-lived characters. They first appeared in Clue Comics, 1943, and the premise of these guys is Nightmare, the guy in the skull suit, was a pro wrestler, and this little kid, he's like a, 12, 13-year-old kid, Sleepy, was his manager. That was his wrestling manager. And, somehow they get mixed up in some shenanigans, and they start crime fighting, right? So, those guys are crime fighters. They fought some, supernatural baddies. They fought some street-level thugs from the research I did. I found a bunch of cool stuff of them online. HeroGoggles.com was a site that I used. I forget, but there was a couple resources that I used to kind of find some info on these guys. I even read an issue of one of their comics that I found somewhere online. So that was these guys' deal, Nightmare and Sleepy. And then towards later in this run or whatever, they did a real redesign of it, and all of a sudden Nightmare was designed almost like a Batman with a full bodysuit with pointy ears. And the strangest thing is that he would come alive out of this guy's cigar, Nosy McGinnis, this random private eye guy who had some homemade tobacco cigars that he had, and Nightmare would emanate from this cigar smoke with superpowers and fight bad guys, and then he would poof out of existence when the cigar was put out. And Sleepy wasn't really in his last appearance. Sleepy wasn't even in the issue. He kind of just went by the wayside. So boom, that is the story of Nightmare and Sleepy thus far. Now, let's get into the last episode of Nightmare and Sleepy's comic adventure. So I bring you the last issue of the Nightmare Sleepy saga, Episode title, The Finishing Move. Now, the story starts out with our boy Nightmare waking up in a hospital bed, blurry-eyed, not really knowing what's going on. And standing over him is Stan Shyster, the wrestling promoter from the pro wrestling promotion that he works for. And he's like, "Oh, champ, I'm glad you're awake. Thank God, right?" Nightmare's like, "What happened? Why am I in this hospital bed?" And he tells him the story of, well, Grizzly Gary hit you with a chair shot in the back, and you were knocked out. You've been comatose for the past 72 hours. And he's like, "Oh, shit." And that's when we realize that everything from the point that he got that new suit and the pointy ears and him coming out of the cigar was all just hallucinations or a dream state from when he was in this comatose situation from the chair shot. So that's not reality. He is still pro wrestling guy in the skull suit with Sleepy as his crime-fighting partner. That was all comatose dream stuff. And he's like, whoa. It all starts to come together. He's like, who did this to me? Oh no, he already said that. Grizzly Gary did it. So he knows Grizzly Gary did it, right? And he's like, all right, I'm going to go get some answers. Thanks for the info. And he's like, hey, Stan, thank you for coming in and checking on me, man. I appreciate you looking out. And Stan's like, don't get too sentimental, pal. I was just checking because it'd be bad for business if some dude died in my promotion. Peace out. Fucking Stan. Boom. So that happens. He leaves the hospital and he dons his nightmare suit, his new nightmare suit, redesigned by me. Bam! Nightmare's on the prowl with his fucking suit, right? And he rolls up on Grizzly Gary. He sees that Grizzly Gary's going to be fighting or doing a match at this upcoming promotion. He rolls up to the VFW. It's a bunk-ass wrestling promotion. So he rolls up at the VFW that they're wrestling at, catches Grizzly Gary in the back, and cracks him. And he's like, time to answer for your sins, brother. What's up with the chair shot? What was that about? I'm about to smash you. And Grizzly Gary is like, it's just business, dude. Beat it. That's where Nightmare proceeds to hit him with a chest chop, a choke slam. Powell drives him into the ground of the locker room. Basically gets Grizzly Gary to say uncle. And he's like, okay, alright. No mas. I'll tell you everything. I was hired by some dude to put you out of commission and kidnap and grab up Sleepy and bring him somewhere. He's like, who is this guy that hired you? I don't know. I don't know the guy's name. All I know, I didn't want to know. All I know is he had cold hard cash. I took the cash. I gave him the kid. Did my deed, and that's it. And he's like, where's fucking Sleepy? He's like, I don't know, but all I can tell you, I can let you know where I brought him. And he hands him a piece of paper with an address on it. So, the plot thickens. Boom. Nightmare shows up to the address on the note, and it's a warehouse in a secluded part of town. He goes inside. He's looking around, seeing what's going on. It's kind of dark, kind of creepy. But boom, who does he see? Sleepy, his pal Sleepy, tied to a chair. He's tied up. He's got his mouth taped shut, squirming. He's like, oh damn. He goes to save his buddy, starts walking towards him. When who pops out? Dr. Leech. Dr. Leech, also classic Golden Age comic book villain. He used to fight Captain Terrible. Dr. Leech pops out. He was like an evil Nazi scientist shitbag guy. So he pops out. He's like, "Ha! You fool! You just made a terrible misstep coming to this place. You need to just turn around and leave. Little do you know, your pal Sleepy is a very important part of a glorious mission." And then, out pops out a fucking killer Nazi robot. Boom. Killer Nazi robot pops out. Bang. Pow. Snuffs Nightmare. Knocks him to the ground. And we realize, through a little monologue from Dr. Leech, that what's happening here is Dr. Leech is developing these killer Nazi robots that are sentient killing machines. And the way he's doing that is he transfers the brain waves of the malleable minds of young people, and he transfers them through, Golden Age comic pseudoscience into these killer robots, which enables them to be intelligent and, make decisions on the battlefield, get angry, all while being firmly under the mind control of Dr. Leech. So there's some badass machines. They got jetpacks that they can fly around with. They can shoot missiles. They are heavy duty. Dr. Leech predicts that half a dozen of these things could decimate an entire city in like 30 minutes, right? So these are some bad mamma jammers. Nightmare tries to tango with the robot again and just gets beat down. He's no match for this robot. Then he gets himself over to Sleepy, and is able to untie him. He unties and frees Sleepy. But then 2 more of these killer Nazi robots come out of the woodwork. He's already got 3 functioning ones, surrounded by 3 of these massive killing machines. And that's when Dr. Leech is like, "You fool, you are in way over your head." That's when Nightmare says to Sleepy, he says, "What do you say, kid? Cannonball special?" He's like, "You got it." Sleepy's like, "You got it." Hops up into Sleepy's arms, or that sounded weird, but Nightmare picks up Sleepy, and what the Cannonball special is a move that they've been practicing, that they've been using lately out in the crime-fighting streets, which is very much akin to the fastball special that Colossus and Wolverine used to do, where Nightmare would pick up Sleepy, Sleepy would turn into a little cannonball position, and just chuck him at enemies, right? So he hops up in, it's Cannonball special time, but Nightmare whips Sleepy and throws him out of the window. Crash! Through the glass. Flies out the window. Now, it's just Nightmare. Dr. Leech. 3 killer Nazi robots. And he looks at his circumstances. And he starts to kind of like think back of the times and those dreams that he was having. And those experiences that he had in that dream state while he was comatose. He's kind of thinking about that. And he says to Dr. Leech, says, "You're right. I probably am in over my head." Pulls out a cigar, takes off his mask, lights that thing, and takes a puff of the cigar. And he says, "Doc, I've been a pro wrestler for 15 years. Have you ever caught any of my matches?" Dr. Leech doesn't respond, and he just grills him, almost like offended by the question that he would watch pro wrestling, right? So he doesn't even respond. He's like, all right, well, Nightmare continues. Says, you see, all these other wrestlers, they always had a finishing move. And, you know, a finishing move being a special wrestling maneuver that these guys would do that would put an end to the match. When these guys did this special maneuver, their trademark move, that meant that his opponent was going down and it was ready to wrap up the match. The opponent was beaten. And Nightmare says, you know, I never had a finishing move. When it came towards the end of my matches, I would just clobber a guy to the ground and just pin him. Put him down on the mat and pin him. And he says, you know, I always wanted a finishing move, but I never could think of something good enough that I wanted to be like my trademark thing that would be the finishing move. But I think I just thought of one. Takes one long last drag of that cigar and flicks it at Dr. Leech. It flies over Dr. Leech's head. And Dr. Leech laughs. He's like, ha! Some finishing move. You missed, you American moron. Nightmare just smirks. He smirks because he knows that cigar landed exactly where he wanted it to. Right on top of this storage of jet fuel, very flammable, explosive jet fuel containers that he had in the back of the lab. It only took moments for kaboom! The place to explode. The whole place is incinerated. Dr. Leech, the Nazi robots, and Nightmare are destroyed. And, you know, how ironic that just like in his comatose dreams during that time in the hospital, Nightmare was extinguished with the putting out of cigarette vapors. Sleepy, outside on the ground, a few yards away from the warehouse, looks on at what just happened in this fiery warehouse in horror. He knows that his pal Nightmare is gone. And that moment stuck with him forever. The year is 1943. And, you know, that day, Sleepy realized that there are real enemies in this world. And there are dangerous enemies that are out there to threaten his friends, his family, and his life. And want to take those things away from him. So he enlists into the army the very next day, ships out into the battle against the Axis powers, and actually became a very important figure in World War II, a war hero. And during all his battles, he wore a patch on the sleeve of his uniform of a skull. And that skull was in honor of his old crime-fighting buddy, Nightmare. He wore it during all his battles to remind him what it is to sacrifice and be a real hero. And that is how the saga of Nightmare and Sleepy end. Peace.